Bill, you ready? Megan, you ready? Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Hi, Lexi. Appreciate you all coming this evening, even though it was a little slippery outside. We'll get started on our January 26th of 26, first meeting of the year. And we'll just dive right in here as normal. We're going to approve the minutes from our previous meeting on December the 22nd. If everybody's had time to review that. And I do want to take a moment. Hadley, I heard from you. Lacey, are you on? Did she show?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I couldn't get my mic to unmute.
Okay. Thank you, Caleb.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, if everybody's had a moment to review the minutes, if there's any adjustments, changes, amendments that need to be made, let's bring those forth, or we would be looking for an approval, a motion for approval here. Suzanne first, got a second?
A second.
Trevor? Let's go ahead and roll call that. Megan, please.
Pete Renfro.
Aye.
Trevor Branch.
Aye.
Caleb Berger.
Aye.
Lacey Colbert.
Aye.
Jeff Garrison.
Aye.
Adam Brown.
Aye.
Suzanne Daniel. Hadley Goldberg.
Aye.
Chad Zickles.
Aye.
You guys have it.
Thank you. Moving forward, we have no scheduled visitors or guests or unfinished business to attend, so we'll move right along into our new business. Letter A, which is a zoning amendment, 25-0028. Property owner, Modern Tile Surfaces Construction, LLC. Property location is lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 of SBG North Subdivision, 1400 block of East Hartley Road. The existing zoning is R1C Single Family District. The requested zoning is an R3 Medium Density Multifamily District. You're up.
Yes, sir. Good evening. As Chairman Garrison said, this is a application to rezone just under 2 acres to multifamily medium density. It is 4 lots. It's being rezoned as 1 tract of land. That's how it's recorded. It's how it's deeded. It's 1 recognized parcel by the county. So it's 1 application. We're considering all 4 lots at one time. The application to rezone is from single family to multifamily. There are a series of conditions that staff is recommending be approved as part of the zoning amendment. So it would be a conditional overlay district in essence. This, as you said, it's on the southeast corner of Hartley Road, Hartley Street, and South 14th Street. It's the area there shown in dark red. This is a screenshot from Google Earth or Google Maps looking southeast. There is a pretty steep embankment there right at the edge of the road. So this is realistically what you see when you're at the intersection. You just don't see it this way. This is kind of a stretch. These are the qualifications, the guiding factors that we typically ask you to consider when considering a zoning change. Looking ahead, the existing zoning, everything to the west across 14th Street is basically single family. Everything to the north across Hartley Street is single family. The property to the east is single family. The property there to the immediate west is where there's an existing house there is R1 as well, and it's single family. The property to the south is R3, so it's medium density multifamily, which is the same zoning district the applicant is seeking. And then further south, you can see that's where there's some existing apartments. So if geographically speaking, this is, if you look at the map on the right, it's north of the Dollar General store there on South Street. I think that's probably a better way for most folks to get orientated to this particular site. going beyond that, what the comprehensive plan provides some guidance. It does recommend that this property be zoned for multifamily or diverse housing. There's it goes on to speak more about the need for that type of affordable housing, housing that fits the needs of changing demographics that are younger visitors, younger residents, elderly residents looking for alternative or diverse housing. And it also speaks to the comprehensive plan, and we're pulling things that are relative to this case, if you will. So the comprehensive plan talks about smart codes, or I hate to use the word form-based codes, but are codes that speak more towards design rather than use. So the conditions that we've talked about with the applicant speak to that. They're more than just saying it could be multifamily versus single family. It speaks to how the buildings interact with each other, the neighborhood, and things like that. So the conditions we've recommended, I believe, are supported by the comprehensive plan as well. So this is a snapshot directly out of the code. It talks about, again, about diverse housing, range of housing types. It talks about supporting these in infill areas where new residential units are appropriate, following the city's design standards. And again, those what we call mixed housing, or whether they're townhouses, duplexes, or low density apartments. So this fits in that realm. Future considerations for the property, the map on the right kind of illustrates some of these points. So water and sewer is available to the site. Water is on the north side of Hartley Street. It's on the west side of 14th Street. The wrong sides for this development, but nevertheless, it is adjacent to the project. So with an extension of water, they can serve the property immediately. Sewer is adjacent to it there in that green line with the black kind of stripe through the middle. So the property can be served by sanitary sewer. There's a buffer yard required on the east side and the west side, and that's kind of shown by those yellow stripes. Hartley Street is a primary arterial roadway, so they wouldn't be able to have direct access, and he's not proposing direct access to the housing units. It would be one access to the site, which is appropriate. 14th Street is a collector street. There will be no access proposed to 14th Street. There will be a minor subdivision required if zoned to combine the properties into one tract, because most likely the development will require or will involve buildings going across those property lines, and that wouldn't be appropriate. That would be a violation of our code. So, and that's one of the conditions, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. So the conditions that we've recommended go along with our recommendation to approve this would be a maximum of 20 units for the entire 1.85 acre site. And that would be basically 22,000 square feet of the property would be dedicated to building coverage. And again, a minor subdivision would be required before moving forward with issuing any building permits. And we say that as a condition, but asking him to do a minor subdivision to combine it and then not getting it zoned might not be his best path forward. So that would be a condition, not something we asked him to do in advance. I hope that makes some sense. Some additional conditions that he's agreed to with respect to future development. All buildings on the site would be restricted to 2 stories. Masonry products or veneer materials, so non-vinyl materials, and there would have to be at least 2 different materials to provide some, I guess you could say, a mix of design colors. No 2 buildings within the respected proposed development would look the same, so building to building to building would look different than one to the next. That's kind of it. Those are the conditions. Again, there was some opposition expressed at the neighborhood meeting. I think those notes were in your packet. Staff supports this. This will be considered by the Board of Aldermen, or they'll consider your recommendation on February 17th. With that, we recommend approval based on the conditions we've presented.
Okay, thank you, Randall. Anyone have any questions at the moment for Randall before we move forward?
Is there a particular slide that you'd like me to stick to?
Probably initially leave it on the special requirements. Right there is fine.
Okay.
For me. Anybody want to see anything else for the moment? Just to make sure asking the online commissioners to be sure if you had any questions, please respond. Caleb,
I do not.
Hadley,
Sorry, I was looking back at the packet. I might later, but I just kind of want to hear what other questions are, if that's okay, Jeff. So I'm going to reserve my right to ask questions till after everyone there asks questions, because sometimes other people have my questions, or I may ask based on answers.
that's fine. Just want to make sure. Lacey?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. Then moving on to I'm sure that someone here is the applicant or a representative of such. Would you want to add anything to what Randall said? Either one be fine. If you do, that's great. If not, that's great. And if you would give me your name and address for identification?
Yes, hello, my name is Nikolai Bukansky. I'm the person who purchased this property and thinking to rezone it for, of course, it was not as an investment when I bought it, and just like Randall said, our city does need some a little bit more affordable, nice living spaces for new residents of this area. I did build quite a few structures in Ozark, and I'm not the first time builder, so I understand what are the requirements, and that was the whole idea when I purchased that property at the beginning. And I believe that I can add a really nice subdivision. If those that know me, like I have done here, you kind of see my houses that I build, and most of the time they stand out and they look really nice and improve the area for majority of its time. If you having only compliments, I take pride in everything I build, everything I do. And I believe that this project here, I also understand the concerns of the people in the area about having something that they didn't get used to. Everyone likes to see a vacant field, but the city is growing, and sooner or later somebody's gonna have to do a development there. And I know if I will be given that opportunity, I will definitely do something that is really nice. That's something I will be really prideful about. Like I will be really happy. Everything I do takes a lot of courage and design and all of that. So that's why I was agreeing to most of those conditions. Also, I don't want to build anything tall, nothing that will block somebody's view. Trying to keep it one story if possible. But there might be situations where, because of the slope, I will have to do like one story, and then like a walkout, basement type of deal in the backyard. I'll try to make it really pretty. I want it to be a very safe neighborhood. I'm not sure if it's going to be a gated community, but it's going to be definitely an upscale community in that area.
Okay.
So hopefully those that are a little disappointed, hopefully that can work towards the good of the community. Maybe help the pricings of the houses in that area to increase instead of decrease. Of course, I'm willing to comply with all the rules and regulations of all departments to make it a better place. That's pretty much all I have.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You can go ahead and have a seat. Do you want to say anything else, Lexi? Okay. All right. With that said, we can open it up for our public portion of the meeting, and anyone that would like to speak to this particular application is more than welcome to step forward. And again, if you would give your name and address, please.
Yeah, I didn't catch the developer's address. Monty Horning, 1509 East Hartley. Ozark, obviously. So I'm standing here tonight where I stood a few months ago in front of y'all when we were looking at rezoning some property across from East Elementary School. And I told you Hartley Street is not equipped to handle extra traffic. It's overburdened as it is now. along with the alderman board that, of course, that's been approved, so it's only going to get worse. As was pointed out, the driveway for this is going to come out on Heartland. It's going to come out right by the four-way stop. It's going to be a catastrophe for traffic. This is a very, very bad idea. And as I think Mr. Whitman said, that the neighborhood association, which I'm not even familiar with that, but he said they were against it. I'm sure if you told everyone along Hartley, they would be against it. And further, I believe several of those people probably would have come out tonight had they not assumed this meeting was canceled. I called the planning and zoning office and got a recording saying the offices were closed. I left a message asking when this meeting would be rescheduled. I did not receive a return call. I found out by accident this meeting was happening tonight. So for the purposes of getting any public comment, I think that's probably not going to be well represented in just a few of us tonight, because I'm pretty certain there would have been several others along that street, my neighbors, that would have energy guys to not pass this on to the alderman, because it's going to be a terrible idea for not only the neighborhood, but especially the traffic there on Park. It's not equipped for all of the neighborhoods that have been built out east to use Hartley as a thoroughfare. There's quite a back out of that four-way stop a lot of the times. As I'm sure you're aware, ODOT is planning on widening South Street there from 14th west. They are not going to put a traffic light there. That intersection of 14th and South Street of the morning now is also a catastrophe, especially somebody that's headed south that wants to turn and go east on 14 or South Street. You're going to be there for 10 minutes waiting on traffic to get through. So I also went to the MoDOT meeting and implored them to put a traffic light there. They said people don't like traffic lights. I said people wouldn't have a problem with the traffic light if they could learn how to come. That's outside your guys' purview, but what is in your purview is to act in the best interest of us, the Ozark citizens. The citizens of that neighborhood that I believe overwhelmingly would be against this. For several reasons, mostly because of the traffic issue. To continue to place a burden on that road that it is not equipped to handle is lunacy. You can't keep building stuff out there with that one road, because there's no other access for all of those neighborhoods between 14 and Hartley, 14th Street and Hartley, out past East Elementary School. Everybody comes in that way. Hartley turns into 11th and comes on down through town. That's a major thoroughfare. Others will turn and go south and will stop. And that is going to be an incredible traffic burden. I would hate to be the people that live there at that four-way stop. I believe actually their driveway is off of 14th, but I know people in the house east of that, and they can't get out of their driveway in the morning now because of the traffic at the four-way stop. So to put any additional traffic load on the street defies logic. Have you guys visited the site out there and looked at any of it, or done anything other than look at the picture here and listen to the community development director say, yeah, we think we should approve this? I doubt it, because if you looked at it and put your place in the people, put yourself in the place of the people living there, you too would be against it. I think my timer's expired, so I'll shut up.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Sherry Morgan. I also live at 1509 East Market Street. And we already have one apartment complex right around the corner from Hartley and 14th, Excelsior Springs.
Mhm.
It's an apartment complex, I don't know how many units it is, it's several. It's right around the corner from that four-way at 14th, which is also a disaster because people just ignore the stop signs and do whatever they want to do. So that's one housing complex. So the second one that's been proposed is right across the street from Ozark Elementary East. And that's already been approved. So that's gonna add, who knows how much more traffic to the road. So then, parts of Hartley don't have any sidewalks or streetlights. There is a section that goes from Ozark Elementary East coming west. For about 3 blocks, there's a sidewalk. Past that, there isn't any until you hit Third Street, or close to downtown, close to this area actually. There's a sidewalk. So we have buses and school children, pedestrians, people jogging, people riding their bikes, and people walking, all on Hartley with no street lights and no sidewalks. I myself have just about been run off the road trying to turn into my own driveway because OSRD, in their infinite wisdom, decided right before school started this past fall, that they took and made a passing zone between the 2 hills that are right in front of my house. So if you're in that dip, you can't see anything coming. If you're on the other side, you can't see anything coming. So people along there are supposed to be 25 miles an hour. That's a joke. People do not do 25 miles an hour on Hartley. It's just not that. So it's a very dangerous road to begin with no street lights and no sidewalks. So we're already adding this fiasco of a housing development right across the street from Ozark Elementary East. So there's also the one at Excelsior Springs right around the corner from Portaway at 14th and Hartley. So now y'all want to put the third one into the mix. So I'm not opposed to people having a place to live. I am opposed to adding another housing development in this area. It just can't happen. The roads will not handle it. It's a dangerous road to begin with. And this is not my first rodeo. I've contacted OSRD and argued with them since they made that very dangerous. They refused to do anything about it. I've contacted Liberty Electric, which has the street lights where we live. They refused to do anything about it. I've contacted the police department twice since school started, and all this has started. Nothing's changed. I've contacted everybody, I've been to OSRD meetings for the last 6 months. Very little has happened. There's a few fixed street lights on Robertson, which is blocks away from this area. And there's been a few put in. That doesn't do anything for Hartley. Hartley's where this disaster is brewing. So outside of it, I don't even know how to word this. Our property values are in jeopardy with all this going on. Picture this, if you lived on Hartley Street and all this is going on around you, people can't get out of their driveways as it is. It's a horror show. I don't know how to make this any clearer. I don't know who else to talk to about trying to stop this nightmare. So I hope that you hear me. I hope that you listen before somebody is killed on this road. And it's probably going to be a school kid getting off a bus. So please heed our words. This is a disaster in the making. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no movement, we'll go ahead and close the public portion of this application and move it to the commissioners for questions or comments. I would like to, I don't think you mentioned this, Randall, when you were talking about the restrictions. I'm curious with the statement of restricting it to a maximum of 20 units on the property, what would be possible without that restriction? number wise? I know it'd be an approximation because of the land and the lay of the land, but what is there approximate number that could be looked at?
Yes, excuse me, for a R3 zoning district, it allows for one dwelling unit for every 2,500 square feet. So if I did the math right, is it 42 units or is it 32? 32, excuse me, 32 units was what, if they could somehow maximize the utility of every square foot of the property,
Right.
which they can't. Just the utility of the land itself with stormwater parking
Mhm.
and there are no height restrictions. That's another in this district or any multifamily district. But if they could, to answer your question, they could have up to 32 dwelling units. So they're, as you said, they're putting a maximum cap on
Right.
it of 20.
And then, of course, you mentioned the height, no height restriction, and that's among the restrictions. Is there really anything else that jumps out that would be allowable that we're stating can't happen? Is it really just the number of units and then the height restriction? Is that pretty much the two, or is there anything else?
Really, that's it. There is our zoning code as it stands, there are no design requirements with respect to the building, the structures, the proximity to each other, garages, no garages, windows where the doors are, any of that stuff, materials, none of that stuff. So the applicant has agreed to put some of those conditions on their own, on himself to help secure the zoning change. So those things are part of the conditions as well. And I'm stuck. I can't get my slide to go forward to show you that. But
Okay, maybe it'll come back.
there we go. So yeah, none of these requirements are possible through our normal zoning code, to answer your question.
Okay, all right.
And I should qualify, this would run with the land. This isn't a condition that is just for a window of time. This is R3 with these conditions, it's permanent. It doesn't have to come back. If he wants to change it, modify it in any way, he would have to come back and seek another rezoning request.
Okay,
So it doesn't, in other words, I guess if you're familiar with the conditional use permit, that can change with the owner and doesn't run with the land. This would run with the land in theory in perpetuity.
okay, good to know. Anyone else? Chad, go ahead.
I'll start with Randall. You mentioned access in your report. You mentioned that Hartley was a primary and I think it's 14th.
14.
It was a collector. Where will access be allowed to this development and where will it not be allowed? I thought you said that. I just want to clarify for the record.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see if I can, whoops. Apologize, I'm not very good here. I'm going the wrong way. There's a little line on here. There's a red little line right there. That's where the existing driveway is to the site. And currently that's where we suspect or we anticipate the driveway remaining. That's at the lowest, the geometry of the property with respect to the basically the ditch or the hill adjacent to Hartley. That's the best place for it.
And that would meet the Public Works design standards as far as the location of the drive?
Yes.
Okay. Next question. Do you have any traffic data, any accident reports, the number of accidents or anything that have been reported or something through this section over the last few years? Or are you aware of any issues with accidents or things like that?
No, we typically don't look at that information through zoning. Zoning is really talking about how the property is used. Anything with respect to a traffic study, traffic accident data, anything like that would be dealt with at the time of development. So they would be doing a traffic analysis when or upon time that they submit plans and things like that. So
Which would show if improvements were needed to be made to Hartley or 14th or things like of that nature.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll hold my other comments till later.
I have a couple questions if nobody else does. Jeff, if I can jump in.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I apologize. I'm kind of going back and forth. So I read something about a sidewalk buyout. That was my question. I'm trying to find where it was in the notes. Are you familiar with that, Randall, what I'm talking about?
Yes, so,
Can you elaborate on that? Yeah, please, thanks.
yeah, sidewalks would be required for, at least considered for a development of this size. Public Works has taken a preliminary look at it, and there are no sidewalks further east or west, and they said just at a cursory level at this point in time, they suspect they would consider or approve a sidewalk buyout. So sidewalks would not be required, especially on the south side of Hartley. If they were, the ideal place would be on the north side of Hartley. The geometry and the geography of the roadway would work better, but there's nothing to connect to. They have I would say preliminarily said they would consider a buyout to use those funds to be used elsewhere within the area to enhance the sidewalk or pedestrian system. But
Okay,
again,
and the reason just I ask is I'm in this area a lot at all times of the day, kind of dropping my kids off at East, and I see a lot of people that walk from 14th Street and kind of make that right onto Hartley. That's kind of why that was why I wanted more information on there, and kind of see if there would be a sidewalk to help with that turn there, because I do see that as a concern. Second question for you, and I think Chad kind of jumped in on this. So you mentioned, and it's up there on the board, that red highlighted section right now is where the driveway is now. I know before at meetings we talked about, would a preliminary plat come back to us? My concern would be is if that exit onto Hartley was too close to 14. So I don't know if this would qualify to where it would come through a preliminary plat or not. That's my next question.
No, it would not. There would be no other public improvements that would warrant a preliminary plat. There would be no dedicated street or anything like that. There would be, a connection to the water system and the sewer system. But there wouldn't be a preliminary plat that would have to be submitted.
Okay. I may have another question, but that's what I have for right now. Thank you.
Say that one more time, Hadley. I didn't catch that.
I said I may have another question based on other questions, but that's what I had for right now. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Then I'll call out Caleb. You have anything at the moment?
Not at the moment, sir.
Okay, Lacey?
No, I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, just want to make sure. Go ahead, Adam. I see you.
Okay. Randall, question, and you have to remind me, is there a minimum size development that triggers a traffic study?
No, I think it's more impact based. I mean,
Right.
and I won't say a single family house by any means warrants a traffic study.
Right.
And I don't know off the top of my head if there's a threshold, if 2 houses, 3 houses. I would say more than three homes, if it were being platted,
Right.
might kind of be that threshold. But in this case, there's already 4 platted lots. It's already, to a degree, already platted.
Right.
A minor subdivision combining them itself wouldn't warrant a subdivision or a traffic study, but 20 units would.
Right. And then that mechanism will be triggered at the platting process, correct?
Well, it most likely in this case, assuming it gets zoned for this development, it would be triggered at the time of development. So when they're ready to submit a site plan,
Right.
And building plans and things like that.
Right. But again, if we zone it, it's not that we're not approving any traffic studies today, use or non-use. That is down the road in the process as far as the development side of things, correct?
That's correct.
Right. So even if we do change the zoning later on down the road, nobody agrees to a traffic study, that could still create an impasse
Yes.
of development.
Yes. Or required improvements. I mean, that's to be determined.
Right. So, and I just want to make that clear that even if the zoning changes, that doesn't automatically mean 20 units. Obviously, we're saying the restriction, but could mean 10 units, could mean something smaller, but still, when they go through the development process, that's when it gets addressed.
Yes, sir.
And it's not like the zoning change doesn't give carte blanche on being able to develop whatever.
That's right. There's limitations to what they could. Yeah.
Okay. And then, and I was clarifying the point that you said, is there going to be an alternate entrance and exit on 14 or just Hartley? Well, obviously, we don't have a plat or anything like that. but-
Right, and Nikolai may want to respond to that, but
Right.
our.
I thought I
don't-
heard that is why I was.
No, I mean, I think we've looked at some concept plans, sketch plans, if you will, and there's really one good scenario for a driveway. That works best with the fire code and other codes that are applicable. It reduces challenges he has on site with respect to grade issues and things like that. It's a challenging site.
Right, right.
One driveway is probably his best scenario.
Right.
And 20 units, that's probably the best utility of the land anyway. So.
And there's no requirements for 2 entrances on something this size.
No, there's some restrictions with respect to how internal circulation would
Right,
get laid out because, a fire truck has to get on the site. It has to be able to go a minimum distance without a place to turn around. And he can accommodate that given the kind of the geometry of the site. So,
right.
or the limitations. So. And again, he may want to, I don't want to speak on his behalf with respect
Sure,
specifically how he plans on developing the site. And he may not know that at this point.
sure. I wanted clarification as to what I thought I heard, which.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the simple answer is yes, one driveway is what we anticipate.
Okay. And then my last question is, I know it was mentioned that other development on Hartley that we had heard in 2025, obviously it's the same process. Once they go to development, that there could be a traffic study there. Is there any information that can be gleaned from that for further development, or does each development have to have their own study?
I think the best answer is that for the most case, every development would have to have their own study. If they're close, if they're in proximity to each other, they may be able to kind of work from the same study.
Sure.
We haven't seen a traffic study for that project either. So,
Do you know if there's been any recent Hartley study?
not that I'm aware of. Megan, no. So, and maybe our Commissioner Zikafus could qualify this, but there probably is a window of time when something needs to be studied and it needs to be looked at again. So I don't know the history of Hartley Street, if one was done 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 years ago, but I would guess that one hasn't been done recent enough, if one was done at all. So
Right.
that wouldn't disqualify their requirement to do that.
Yeah, I was curious if the expansion of the parking lots for East Elementary had triggered that at all. But then I also know that East Elementary, I don't know, it was 2 years ago, whenever we consolidated into, all the 5th graders went to the middle school. So each elementary school actually dropped. So there's currently less traffic there than there was 2 years ago. So I was curious if at any point if that had played a role, and if we had any kind of data that we could look at.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, but
Okay.
Going off memory, I think probably the last traffic study would have been that housing development that I can't think of the name of it, but it's back.
Adam, I can answer your name for when they consolidate. I can answer that question at least. So this senior group is the first group that spent 4 years in the high school. So this is their 4th year. So if we go back 25, 24, 23, I think that would be what. So it's probably three and a half years.
No, yeah, I know for the high school, I was talking about the middle school. Because
That was all the shift happened at the same time. So it was 3.5 years ago when all the grades shifted. So like when 5th went back up to the middle school and all that.
Gotcha.
But it was a housing development on Hartley. And sir, you might be able to help me. When they built all those houses that are between you and 14th on the north side of Hartley, I can't think of the name of that subdivision. That's been at least 10 or 12 years ago.
Oh, on 19th and 20th?
Midway, probably. I'd have to see a picture. I can't remember the name of the streets, but
That's what it looks like.
probably, yes. So it's been at least, probably a better number would be 15 years ago, probably.
yeah, that would warrant
time.
it. That would warrant a
Yeah,
new one.
long time. And I just wanted to make sure, Adam brought it up and Chad also did. Typically, we have a designated paragraph for a traffic study, but it's really not even mentioned under the streets paragraph. But there has to be a traffic study before development, but it's not listed on the paperwork unless I'm missing it.
If it isn't, Public Works didn't put it in there, but it is a traffic study would be required, or at least a traffic impact statement.
Prior to development, just
Yeah,
like you said. Okay.
Looks like it was 2002, 2003 when that was put in.
Okay, good. Thank you
So,
for that.
yeah.
I didn't miss it by much. Well, little. Define not
Couple
much.
decades.
Yeah, define not much. Okay, anyone else? Yes, Suzanne, go ahead.
What's the current width on Hartley?
It's funny, I was measuring that issue. It's about 25 feet wide.
That's just the street, that's not the right of way?
Yeah, that's just the street itself. So I think the right of way is, it's a 50-foot right of way.
Okay, with that, do you happen to know how much of that right of way is used for drainage? Because this is that's critical in this particular case.
Well, if there's 15 feet on either, or 10 feet on either side, 10 to 12 feet. I'm looking at the aerial photograph and it's kind of a hodgepodge of, there's cars parked along it, so I know on the south side, you can see from some of our photographs that it's not much of a ditch. Everything runs to the north. So there really isn't much infrastructure in that regard. If there is a ditch, it runs across the street and it just basically is surface drainage to the north.
Is there any?
So maybe to that question.
Go ahead. I know where you need to head that way. Go ahead.
Yeah, the stormwater analysis, any drainage improvements, stormwater improvements and things like that, it's the same answer. That would be required at the time of development as well. And just generically looking at the site, any detention or anything like that would be required on basically the northwest corner of the property. And would have to be retained on site and slowly released, just like any stormwater design.
Okay. That was my question. The other concern was, is there any way to get more right of way for sidewalks in the future from?
When they do when a minor subdivision's done to combine the lots, I think we have anticipated an additional 10 foot of right of way would be granted to the city on the development side, or the south and the east side of Hartley and 14th. We wouldn't be able to go back, obviously, and collect anything on the far side.
Right.
I think we'd have to talk with Public Works. When they commented that a buyout was appropriate, they're basically saying building sidewalks at this time on the south side of Hartley isn't probable, and it doesn't look like it's really feasible, given the ditch and the way the property sits with respect to Hartley. That's why they would support a buyout. So the answer is no.
Okay, my actual thought was whether or not part of the buyout was to include additional right of way for sidewalks. So that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I think it is to include, the buyout would be for sidewalks, but it would probably be somewhere else where that money could be immediately used and in a better
Okay.
situation.
Buyout would include additional right of way for sidewalks in the future. I didn't know if that was part of how that's done or not. It doesn't sound like it is.
No, I mean, I think they're two different things, kind of. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
Okay. Sorry, didn't get right to the answer.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else that hasn't? Yeah, Chad, go ahead.
So I just want to add some information. I think to build on what Suzanne was saying. So Public Works is asking for a buyout of the sidewalk, but they're still required to dedicate the additional right of way along Hartley.
That's correct.
Okay. And to add to that, one of the reasons I suspect that Public Works supports the buyout is because per Americans with Disability Act, ADA, you're not allowed to build a dead-end piece of sidewalk. It has to connect to some logical termini. So you can't lead someone out, 200 feet and then just dump them out into the field. So there's no logical termini here, so there's no connectivity. So at some point when the city, collects additional funds, has a master sidewalk plan, they can come in and build sidewalk on Hartley from 14th to wherever makes sense. So I think the buyout is appropriate. And then as far as stormwater and drainage, I think, if there were a need to widen Hartley for, say, a right turn lane or something for the development, I mean, I think if that impacted the ditch in the storm, they'd be required to put in, curb and gutter and storm pipe and drop inlets. I mean, they would have, that would be the only way you could widen Hartley to the south. I mean, you'd have to address that stormwater. So I don't see any concerns with that. I mean, Public Works will take care of that. As far as the traffic study discussion that we had, I mean, typically anything older than 5 years really isn't relevant. It needs to be updated. Of course, when they do their traffic study, they'll go out and take actual counts on today's traffic. So it'll take into account all the houses that have been built over the last decade or two, the existing apartments, the school changes, all that stuff. And I would suspect that Public Works, if there was a development to the east that recently did a traffic study that was getting ready to go to construction, that they would be required to add that traffic into their traffic study to make sure that all that was accounted for during that analysis. So, I don't have any concern with that. So, and I think that, the conditions that have been put on the zoning are really well done. I mean, the proposed zoning meets the comprehensive plan. We have commercial development along South Street, Highway 14. Then we move into the multifamily and so forth. And then the comprehensive plan identifies this as, additional multifamily, with restricting it to a maximum of 20 units per acre. That's less than 11 dwelling units per acre. A national average for a unit, for like a single family unit, is like 9.8 trips per day, less than 10 trips a day. So if we assume 10 trips a day, 20 units, that's 200 trips a day. That's 100 leaving in the AM, 100 arriving in the PM. That's a pretty small impact on Hartley. I don't know what the count is on Hartley today, but an additional 200 trips isn't significant. Then restricting it to two stories. I mean, that's single family residential home is 2 stories. So, that's not, out of place for the area. And then requiring the brick or the masonry products and no vinyl and the differing roof design and color schemes and stuff. I mean, it's going to be sounds like it's going to be an attractive, complex. And, I think it fits in. There's regionally, as a region, we have a housing shortage. We have a lot of unhoused individuals in the Ozarks. And what I think we need to understand, whether we build housing or not, people are still going to come. So I think we need to plan for this. I think this is a good development. I plan to support it.
Thank you, Chad. Anyone else? Trevor, Pete? No, go again. Yes, please.
I think, are we allowed to ask questions of members of the audience? Like the officer?
Yeah, if you want to bring someone, who? The police officer? Sure.
I was wondering about that too. While he comes forward, you did a better job of responding to the stormwater question than I did, so thank you. But I think that's the answer with respect to stormwater is the same answer for traffic. They'll do a stormwater, they'll look at the stormwater, where the water discharges from the driveway, the detention pond, and if there's any improvements needed to Hartley to accommodate that, that will be part of the project as well.
So after the last,
Name and address, please. Sir,
Officer Richardson, 201 East Burke Street.
thank you.
so Officer Richardson, after the last zoning request came through from down the street, you went out and checked into some of the complaints that were brought up at the time. What did you find?
So I did do several counts of speed enforcement. Obviously, I'm with the traffic unit, so there's only a couple of us in the traffic unit, can't always be everywhere. We get complaints all over the city. However, I do frequent enforcement at 14th and Harley during the stop sign violations. I also do speed enforcement up and down Harley. We've had our speed trail out there multiple times. And there are speeders, and I'm not going to say there's not. There's speeders all over the city. However, it's not in abundance that it's made out to be. I'm not saying there's not speeders, because there are speeders, but, and we go out there and issue citations, left and right. Sometimes it slows them down for a little bit, and then they pick back up, and then go out there, write more citations and everything else. As far as crashes, I've been in the traffic unit division for going on 3 years now. I've yet to order a crash on Harley. I typically do enforcement around elementary school, 17th and Harley, and 14th and Harley are kind of my 3 areas that I work. I've never had a crash there in the last 3 years. I'm not saying that there's not been one, but to my knowledge and recollection, I have not worked on it. And I typically work from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. Wednesdays through Saturday. So, not saying that they don't happen there. They know we sit there, they, all the things, and we still get speeders, we still get people who have moving violations. That being said, I can't recall the highest speed we had, but it wasn't 40 and 50 miles an hour. I would encourage citizens, if there's issues, to call, and we can come back out and we can revisit and put new enforcement in that area. But like I said, there's only me and my sergeant are only to the traffic unit, so we kind of get pulled all over the state. I'm not gonna say there's not speeders. There are speeders. The average speed, if I had to guess, is probably 30 to 35 miles an hour. The posted speed limit is 25, so it is in excess, but it's not egregiously. I don't get a lot of 40, 45, 50 miles per hour issues when we're out there doing speed enforcement.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Adam, you have one?
I think I answered my question. Never mind.
Okay.
I was trying to just get a good understanding of where the city limits are on Hartley, and it looks like it's right after the school. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's just east of that school, so we go right up to there. My sergeant does a lot of the daytime school enforcement zoning. I'm typically out there in the evenings or even during late night hours. I'll go over some speed or some moving violations as well. But after the last planning and zoning meeting, I did go out there several times. And it's hit and miss, but it's not consistently as much as we think it is.
Okay. Before you walk away, just want to check with our online. Hadley, you good? You need have any questions for the officer?
No, but thank you for your input.
Yes.
Caleb? Caleb, are you there? Oh, did we lose him? Okay, Lacey?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Okay, we'll get Caleb when he comes back on.
Yeah, I'm back. Nothing from me, but thank you, officer, for your input.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, officer. Appreciate it. Anything else? Anyone else? Questions, comments? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to move forward.
I move to recommend approval of zoning amendment 25-0028 as presented in the staff's report and facts of finding.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, that'd be Adam, and then roll call, please. Oh,
Could we get you to consider with the conditions as presented?
Yep. Thank you for that.
Do you want a formal motion, or can I just say as amended? I mean, I can, is there a number on the conditional overlay district? No? Okay, I'll make another motion. I move to recommend approval of zoning amendment 25-0028 with conditional overlay district as presented by city staff and the facts of finding.
I will second that one as well.
Okay. Megan, when you get a chance, go ahead and roll call, please.
Yes, Kayla Berger,
Aye.
Chad Zikapus,
Aye.
Adam Brown,
Aye.
Pete Renfro,
Aye.
Jeff Garrison,
Aye.
Suzanne Daniel, Trevor Branch,
Aye.
Lacey Colbert,
Aye.
and Hadley Goldberg.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Let's see, that's the end of the new business. Moving into our discussion time, which we're going to be discussing a PUD revisement, Chapter 405.410, Planned Unit Development Regulations Update. Mr. Whitman, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I believe it was last month that we presented kind of a introduction to some code amendments. This was one of those to basically do a wholesale replacement of the city's planned unit development regulations. Megan and Ava and I have been working tirelessly to put together a entire code section that would replace the existing planned development standards. So we've given you a hard copy of that, and we're not going to go over this section by section, but this would replace everything, and it would basically boil down a planned development process to a 3-step process. So and this is similar to the way you've always done it. It just helps the code itself read a little bit better. The requirements that will be in our code are very specific with respect to the qualifications for a plan development. But it basically follows the same process. A sketch plan or a concept plan would be presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Very preliminarily, any feedback that you offer the developer, staff, they take that back, and then they come back with an actual application to rezone the property to a planned development. And within that is a preliminary development plan. It's not subdivision regulations. It's strictly just customized zoning basically for the property. And that you would make a recommendation just the way you did tonight. And that would go to the Board of Aldermen, and they would consider the zoning amendment for that plan development. The one thing that's kind of a little bit different is that, like Springfield and most cities, there's a third element, and that's the final development plan. And that really just refines what that plan development actually comes forward. So that's what you would see when a preliminary plat shows up, so that you have confidence, staff has confidence that they actually met what was in the proposed preliminary development plan or the plan development. So again, it's a 3-step process. It's pretty much the way all plan developments are written across, I don't want to say everywhere across the nation, but it is in our area, in Springfield, Nixa. In a way, it's the way your existing code was written. It's just not very clear. So this would help kind of clean that up. It would put some very specific qualifications in terms of the purpose and intent, and then the requirements for what they have to actually submit when they submit to city staff, and what they're asking you to approve and why. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We would appreciate you taking a look at the draft. Any changes, feel free to email us directly. We're not above saying there's some things that need to be tweaked in it. We haven't had a chance to share this with the city attorney yet, but she's been out on leave, so we'll get that to her right away. And we would like to move forward with this with a public hearing in February. So we'll kind of gauge any response from you all in a public hearing we have then, and any changes. So if I can answer any questions. Obviously, you've not seen this or had a chance to review it, unless you're super talented and speed readers. So
No danger on my part. The only thing, just if you can summarize, are we doing this because of a need we see? Or was it something like brought from developers or contractors or builders that, well, you in Ozark don't or do these things versus this city over here, and it's easier or it's harder here? You know what I'm saying? Am I making sense? Why?
yeah,
What's the main driver?
I think the we is the city as a whole, whether it's staff and then by extension, you all and the Board of Aldermen. There's definitely some issues with your existing ordinance. I think we have to work really hard to qualify density exchanges for improvements or qualifying those density exchanges, changes in setbacks and things like that. Your existing ordinance really doesn't spell that out very well. It doesn't do a good job of saying what qualifies to gain density in exchange for different amenities, public improvements and things like that. It alludes to it, but it doesn't call it out. And there's some mistakes in the actual verbiage with respect to words like plan and plat and things like that, things that just needed to be cleaned up. This gives you very specific guidance on when you're allowed or when you should consider a plan development and when you shouldn't. And here's a list of criteria, and if they don't meet that criteria, then it's not appropriate to consider it. So I hope that helps a little bit.
I was going to ask before we get away, Hadley, do you have any questions or anything towards the PUD that we talked about?
I actually was just going to ask if we can get it emailed to us, please, because I have not seen it. I'm sure Lacey and the other, all of us online have not seen it yet.
Yep. Megan will make that happen for you. Caleb?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Lacey?
No, Hadley addressed it for me.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? We'll read it and report back. That work?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Well, let's see. Commission comments. Do we have any?
I had a comment, maybe a question. So kind of going forward, I know Megan had sent us an email and said, hey, if we had, weather today and we couldn't meet, it would be scheduled upon another day. Is there anything in writing or anything basically that is a set, pattern or routine that we have for that if we were canceled in the future for weather that we knew? That was just my question.
We had a conversation, I guess it was Thursday, with respect to weather, and I think the conclusion we came to, there was no formal policy. If City Hall is closed, we wouldn't we wouldn't have a public hearing, we wouldn't have a planning and zoning commission meeting. I think that's really the only definite thing we can rely on. I agree, we probably need to have a procedure policy in place for this in the future. So we will talk about that. Maybe that's something you have some rules of procedure that you all adopt. But for the most part, if you have a public hearing that's scheduled tonight, had this meeting been canceled because City Hall was canceled, we would have automatically put notice on the door that it would have been continued to Tuesday evening, Thursday evening, or whenever. And that would have been the process, so.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, that was just my question, is I'd love to just have something, obviously that doesn't need to be, we can get it for February, but we have, by the next winter time, it'd be awesome if we can have some sort of procedure in place.
I think we will work on that.
Do you know if the city council has any policies like that? Because obviously they meet twice as often as we do, but I think it'd probably be pretty easy to just mirror whatever they have, whether it gets pushed to. That's what I was saying. If it's probably the standard would be, it just gets pushed to the next meeting, but I don't know if it's.
Yeah, if we did that, it'd be 30 days.
Sure. No, I understand that, but that's where.
Right. But whatever our procedure is, we'll get there.
Yeah, I think as I understood it, if there was a public notice given to have a public hearing tonight, just like this one, and City Hall was closed, one way or another, somebody would make it here, whether it was in a digital online format or something taped to the door that would have specified when the hearing was continued to and when.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some responsibility, I guess, on the part of the public to come here and ask questions, call and find out. So
Sure.
City Hall was open for business today. We were open Friday. To my knowledge, there was no time and period when we weren't there to answer the phones.
So there was no reason for someone to be confused that this meeting would be,
No,
that was just drama.
perhaps. I'm not sure where that information came from. So
And that certainly wasn't my question. My question was just if we had and it was closed today, I just wanted a procedure in the future, so.
yeah, I think it's a good question. We'll put something perhaps in writing and maybe we'll present that at the next meeting and you all can adopt it as your standard operating procedures or.
Right. Sounds good. Trevor?
I'm good.
Good. Pete? Suzanne? You good now? You got something else? Go ahead.
No, I was going to comment that
the last month, it looks like that someone's added signs to where the right of ways end and where the new one starts.
Hey, Susan, can you turn on your mic so they can hear you?
Oh, sorry.
That's good.
I've noticed that there are new signs that indicate where the maintenance for the city ends and where the county starts. And I was just curious about whether that was going to be an overlap in the space between them or if that was going to be a place that was neglected. And I was happy to see that it was overlapped.
Yeah, you know, with respect to clearing the roads.
Yes.
Yeah, those signs were installed by the road district, the Ozark Special Road District. And there's some ongoing discussion, if you will, between the city and the road district with respect to maintenance and things like that. Those places that are kind of in between are locations where the city owns or has annexed the property on either side of the right of way. Doesn't mean the city has annexed that jurisdictional right of way. It could still be technically in the hands of the county or the road district, but the current, I don't want to say agreement, I'm not sure what the right word there is, that the city would maintain those. So there's places where you move it, the city plows it and the road district plows it and the city may plow it. They're working through that right now. So it's a tough question to answer, honestly. So.
Well, I was just happy that it got plowed. Thank you.
Yeah, I think they're working together very well.
That's good. That hasn't always been the case in the past. Just didn't we ruffle any feathers, but there it is. Okay, we're closing out. One last pass. Hadley?
I'm good, thanks.
Caleb?
I'm good, sir.
Thank you. Lacey?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Adam, go.
Just a clarification, are we reviewing this and handout and discussing it next meeting? Or was this just a notification?
Yes, we would like to schedule a formal public hearing in February.
Okay.
And receive we would obviously appreciate any comments between now and then if you have any.
Right.
But we would take them in February and, but yeah, if you've got some recommendations, changes, edits, anything, we'll incorporate those before February.
Okay.
And we will get this emailed out to everybody, even if you've got a hard copy, so.
Okay, thank you. All we lack's one thing. Who's going to be it?
I'll do it. I move to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
And they all said
Bye.
aye. Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone. Thanks.
Hadley, Caleb, Lacey, thank you for zooming in, even though that's not the right word anymore.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Have a good evening.